Hola Comadres, welcome to another episode of Comadreando podcast. I'm your host Marcy, and today we have a new episode. It's another Solita episode, as my friend Miss D from Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast would say. We're going to be talking about some heavy stuff, so I want to go ahead and start off with a trigger warning, depression, anxiety, of substance abuse, and all of that. Okay, so if this is something that is triggering for you, go ahead and skip this episode for today. If it's not, then welcome. Okay, so I've gotten a lot of questions regarding life choices that I've made as of late. And when I first started getting those questions, I didn't feel comfortable sharing then because I was still in the moment. However, I do feel more comfortable now and I'm ready to share with you. So, and the reason why I'm ready to share now is that if I can help any mom in any way, shape, or form to help themselves, I feel like I would have won. So we're talking about mental health and substance abuse. And we're not talking about like drugs because I've never done drugs in my life, but alcohol, which is more dangerous. And then we're going to get into why it's more dangerous. So let's start with the first question people asking me is, why did I decide to stop drinking altogether as opposed to like weaning off and like having it in social situations or having it less? So we're going to backtrack as to the history of when I first started drinking, and then we're going to talk about what exacerbated it and all of that. So before the pandemic, I became a teacher, as you all know. And we found ourselves going out often, like every other Friday, to go to happy hour. Somebody integrated themselves into our friend group, and that person wanted to go out like every week. So I was joining that person. Not blaming them for my choices, obviously, but it was something that was seen as normal. Like, oh yeah, teachers, let's go drink after school. There's a bunch of memes about that online. So yeah, I was drinking. I was finding myself drinking to deal with the stressors of teaching, and then also finding myself dealing with the stressors of being a mom to a child with special needs. Aiden now is a completely different person than he was when he first got diagnosed, which we have discussed on the show before. However, it was stressful, being a mom to a child with special needs, doing it all basically by myself with no help from his father. It was a lot. It was a very big load to carry. And instead of looking for therapy, I was looking for the most socially acceptable form of coping in my not social circle, in my culture, right? So after a while, that habit continued to increase. I started buying wine to have after work. So even if I didn't go to happy hour with the ladies, I would have wine by myself here in the house. I wouldn't drink in front of Aiden, but I would have him in respite and then go pick him up afterwards. So it was just, I don't know. And then the pandemic, I feel made everything worse in a way, because it was like, so the pandemic made everything worse in a way because we didn't have anything to do. We were just home. And, all of these new shops to order things were available. And now we had alcohol delivery along with groceries and everything else. So that was something that was easy to do, and I found myself relying more and more on alcohol to cope with the stress of being in that toxic work environment, where I was working for a narcissist, being home all the time with my son, being locked up, having a special needs kid who needed me, as well as having to be in front of the computer teaching my students all day long. So yeah, it came to a point that I realized that I was doing it too much, and then not only that, but then the side effects were outweighing the benefits. So I was supposed to be de-stressing, but I was finding myself being triggered and having anxiety attacks the following day. Anxiety attacks and having cold sweats at night. So basically my body wasn't processing the alcohol the same way. And it was, I want to say, the October before last that I decided to stop. So I went and started looking for help. So at that time I had switched, which we discussed before on the show, I switched therapists. Because that was even triggering for me. Like, working with that person wasn't meeting my needs, and I didn't feel that I could talk to her in a way. So, me being me, I wanted to correct my behavior. I tried to do it on my own, and I felt like I couldn't. So then I went out and started looking for a therapist that specializes in substance abuse and alcohol abuse. So I switched to one that worked with those issues. And through the work with the therapist, I was able to stop completely. I do not miss it at all. It's been a little over... October 2021, October 2022, almost 2 years. It's been almost 2 years that I haven't been consuming alcohol. I did have a slip back in September. The therapist that I was working with is great because he's holistic. So he's very aligned with the things I believe in. So very spiritual, but not so much like Jesus heavy. Like, it's not like revolving around religion. It's more of, he was help me empower myself, and noticing what were the triggers that were leading me to have drinks, and what I can have as replacement behaviors to stop. And this is in all transparency, and I know there's gonna be people that are gonna be judging me, and they're gonna be like, wow, I thought she was perfect. I am not perfect. I know that one thing's for sure in this show, if anybody has learned something, is that I have been fully transparent with my journey as a special needs mom, and the things that I've been through, and the difficulties that I have had throughout my life. So yeah, this is just another layer that I'm peeling back, and I'm exposing myself and sharing with you. And the reason is not so you guys can be like, oh, poor Marcy, she's had such a hard life. No, it's not that. I want to help people. So even sharing my story, I can help other people recognize behaviors in themselves to help realize that they need help. Then that's what I want to do. So through the work with the therapist, I was able to stop completely. I don't miss it at all. At first, it was hard initially, because we know, as people of color, and not only that, but just like in society in general, it's kind of, alcohol is ingrained to like every aspect of things that we do. So it's like, something good happens, have a drink. Something bad happens, have a drink. You're feeling blah, have a drink. Like, it's really, and then it wasn't until I stopped drinking that I started noticing the propaganda around the alcohol, right? So Instead of dealing with our feelings, we're numbing and avoiding, right? We're stepping back. We're not really facing those things that are making us uncomfortable, that are making us feel sad, that are making us feel depressed. And we think that having a drink is going to help us escape those things. And it really does not. Because you could feel good in the moment. However, when you wake up or when you become sober again, those problems are still there. Nothing changes. Okay? So there's better ways to cope with stress than having a drink or taking drugs or doing all those things. Okay? Not only that, but as a parent of a kid with special needs, it is advisable for you to be on your game, because our kids especially, they need a lot of extra care. So it was really hard initially, like I was saying. It was me facing my demons and looking in the mirror and analyzing things like triggers, like I said before, but also looking at family history of things, because nobody was officially an alcoholic. However, there were people that had issues with alcohol, if that makes any sense. Tenía problema con el alcohol, right? Or had gambling issues, or some people from my dad's side of the family had issues with drugs. Okay? So that is called, I'm going to look it up because I remember when I was taking psychology. Okay. So anyway, people that tend to have addictive personalities, right? This can be inherited. I don't know if I'm using the right vocabulary around it. However, yeah, they're like not sensory seeking. Yeah, so it says here, I'm looking on a website, American Addiction Center. It says, these traits can be recognized in people who have higher risk of becoming addicted to psychoactive substances, rather than just being able to moderate behavior around these types of substances. People with higher addiction risk include those who are related to others who have developed addiction, which is my family history, experience other mental health disorders like depression, which was a big factor, right? Adventurous and risk-taking, I wouldn't say that. Disconnected and cautious, obsessive and compulsive, apathetic, unable to self-regulate. So I remember when I was studying psychology, there was like a certain personality trait that had to do with people looking for external things to make them feel good. And it was always on to the next better thing to give you that like rush, right? So yeah, I like sitting with my therapist and looking at all those things, not placing blame on anybody, because I made my choices. However, being cognizant of your family history and the way you tend to cope with things, instead of like owning up to it and dealing with it, is important. It's part of the process. Not that it's giving you an excuse like, oh, I'm drinking because I had a very sad childhood and I've been through so much trauma and now I drink to cope. That's an excuse. It's not really a reason people need to use. I mean, and granted, if you're in the moment that you're using those things, it makes sense to you, right? You rationalize everything. And just people lose the ability to discern what things are good and what things are bad for them, okay? And the consequences of those things. So yeah, working with my therapist was very essential in that. So shout out to him. Yeah, and then I've been sober all this time. I mean, with except for the slip in September, because like around my birthday I went out and like had drinks and stuff, and then I continued. But the thing is that what I find is that, like, people are gonna be like, oh, that's not that bad. Like, no, it's bad, because the thing is that I don't ever like to feel out of control, and it was getting to a point that I was feeling like I needed to have it, and I don't like anything having that kind of power over me. So I rather just quit cold turkey. And the problem with alcohol, I find, especially after I've been sober, that it's so rationalized and so normalized in society that when people don't drink, people automatically assume there's something wrong with you, or that you do other things to take the edge off. So, sometimes people are like, oh, yeah, you want to have a drink? And I'm like, oh, I'm good, thanks. I'll just have water, or I'll just have seltzer with lime or whatever, or a mocktail. You sure you don't want to drink? Like, for real? What's wrong? Are you sick? Are you taking medicine? Like, alcohol consumption shouldn't be normalized this much. And I'm not saying, like, for those of you that can drink, cool. But I know myself and, like, my being and who I am. And I don't like that icky feeling. I don't like getting the anxiety the next day. I don't like the cold sweats at night. It doesn't serve me. And it doesn't help me elevate to where I want to be. So a reconfirmation of me not drinking was going through the Kundalini teacher training. I didn't know that Kundalini teachers were not supposed to consume alcohol or do drugs, for that matter. So it really reinforced that. And then the person who brought Kundalini Yoga to the United States, Yogi Bhajan, said that Kundalini Yoga teachers become transparent when we're up there. And if you have to be addicted to something, he said, be addicted to doing sadhana daily. Otherwise, addiction is not a source of freedom. And you are not free by taking drugs. The neurons of the brain will become feeble. You will lose your nostril pituitary sensitivity. You can never smell the subtlety of life. You'll always be dragging your life. So many of his first students, when Yogi Bhajan, by the way, guys, I'm recording in my house and it's summertime. So if you hear noises in the background, there might be a fire truck or people talking, because it's loud out here. And literally, my window's facing the street. However, so Yogi Bhajan basically said that he brought yoga back in the Kundalini yoga rather back in the 60s. So at that time, not the 60s and late 60s, early 70s, and at that time, many of his first students used to come to class high. He was quick to tell them that doing Kundalini yoga and using recreational drugs was unhealthy at the least and could be dangerous. And according to yogic thought, drugs interrupt the natural flow of energy of the chakras and the aura and put strain on the nervous system to compensate. In addition, the drug-induced high and powerful energies released from the practice of Kundalini yoga can get out of control with unpredictable results. So it's not advised, obviously, especially if you're not the teacher. And the thing is, when you're teaching up there, like, people feed off of your energy. And if you're not 100% there, it's going to be noticeable, Another paragraph went on to say that at the time, drugs seemed like the only way to attain the high that was longed for, the only way to pass through the doors of perception into experience. He reminded his students that the strongest mood and perception-altering drugs were endogenous. We produce them in our own internal biotech factory, our bodies. Although many drug users thought of Kundalini Yoga as another way to get high, quote unquote, Kundalini Yoga is a way of becoming the higher self. It is getting out of pain, subconscious turmoil, and boredom. It gives you energy from within that cannot be given or created by any outside substance. And there's a quote from Shakti Parwakar. So when you feel the urge for a stimulant, take 7 long, deep breaths, holding each inhalation to the maximum, or do breath of fire. It is the most powerful remedy. If you do half an hour of breath of fire every day, there are a lot of troubles that you can keep miles away, said Yogi Bhajan. So it's due to the fact that alcohol is so socially accepted. When you don't drink, people look at you like you're weird, or kind of like yeah, it's just one drink. It's not gonna do anything to you. So I feel like that was difficult. Like still managing not drinking and being sober, and then going out, because I still want to be social. I want to hang out with my friends. I don't need anything to be a good time. Like I can still hang out. And even though I don't drink, I still want to be invited, y'all. So don't like not invite me because I'm sober. I'm good. Like I can be around alcohol. I don't have an issue. It's not a problem. It's just, I was having a moment where I felt like I was drinking too much, and I decided to take action. First of all, to sit down with myself and admit that, and then take action and take care of that. Because, I need to be here for Aiden, and it's more important for me to do that than, the temporary satisfaction of having a glass of wine or having a cocktail. I'm good. And I have found so many delicious mocktails that I can have. I'm like really into kombucha now. What else? Yeah, and I make like all these kinds of weird lemonades with like fresh fruit inside of them, and you like mash them up. It's actually really good. So what did I do to take control of my mental health? So I had to sit down and see what was happening with me. So I was feeling more sad than usual. You guys know already that I suffer from depression, and this has been something that has been ongoing since I was in my early 20s. That's when the first time that I started noticing that I was sad to the point that I couldn't like shake it off. So, looking at that, what was causing that, right? I'd recently been through a breakup. Looking at the way that made me feel, and kind of internalizing that and sitting down with it, and really looking at it from a deeper perspective. Not just, oh my God, I'm alone now, but what was it about being alone that was triggering me to do these things, right? So I sat down and really looked at it, and, patterns of behavior, especially around dating, and then the people that I was picking. Yeah, I realized through therapy in the last year that I was picking people that I had to prove that I was worthy of love, that they were not just accepting and loving me, that I had to do something to earn their love. And this comes from childhood. And I'm not going to tell you from which parent, but yeah, it was one of those things. So when I came to the realization of that, I was like, my brain exploded. Because I was like, girl. Like literally, this is the pattern of behavior I've been engaging with since I was younger. Not only that, but it was so toxic that if it was easily attainable, or somebody just loved me just because, I felt that was boring, or that I didn't want that person because there was no quote unquote chase. So how fucked up is that? But like, I feel like had I not been sober and working on like my mental health and doing all these things, I wouldn't have realized that. And like that made me sad, but then also glad at the same time to realize that, because now that I know it, I'm aware of it, and I can keep that in mind to not repeat the same pattern of behavior. So another thing I did was integrate meditation on a daily basis. I literally meditate every day. And I've been doing these sadhanas, which I've discussed on the show before. So it's a spiritual practice where I'm doing meditation and chanting and yoga every day for a certain amount of time, either in the morning or the evening, whenever I have time, preferably in the morning during ambrosial hours. That's what's recommended in Kundalini Yoga, because at that time there's less interference. Everybody's sleeping, and you get more downloads, and get more clarity. Um, Another thing that I did to help myself was learn how to deal with conflict more precisely and realize that people are going to act from where they are, and that has nothing to do with me. So I can only control how I react to things and situations and what I say and what I do. I can't control other people. So other people treating me a certain way really has nothing to do with me. It has more to do with them, right? It has to do with them and things, unhealed things that they haven't worked through, things that they haven't realized, or just they're just miserable people. So that really, none of those reasons have anything to do with me, and it doesn't mean that I am worthy of being treated that way, or that that should be the norm. Okay. Yeah, that was a mouthful. So, and I also realized throughout these last 2 years is that I do not need to stay in situations that in which people don't respect me or value me or my boundaries. So yeah, I can stay as in those situations as long as I want to. I have the power to say no and to set my boundaries and to put my foot down and just continue to do something else, and go in an opposite direction. Something else that I added into my treatment plan is that, I went back to antidepressants, and we found a combination that worked. I take it once a day. I have to take it with food because if not, it doesn't work. But yeah, it's working so far. It's always what is it? A journey to figure out what works for you and to find that level that helps with your brain chemistry. So with the medicine, I don't feel like apathetic, but like I feel like I can feel things more, and I'm able to be more introspective with respect to how I'm feeling and things that I do, and things of that nature. So, and be more aware of when I'm starting to feel off with respect to feelings or anything like that. Okay, what else did I do? I'm making it my business to move my body at least 4 to 5 times a week, schedule permitting. And even when I don't, I go for mental health walks. I know there's a meme that's like, let me go on this stupid walk for my stupid mental health. But it actually does work for me. So walking, even if it's not here in the city, when I'm in Jersey, walking my dog multiple times a day does help a lot because I'm out in the sun. Even if it's not super sunny and it's raining, it's still something like an activity where I'm in nature and it's not, I'm not locked up in a house or, talking to people. Journaling, like I said before on the show, has helped a lot as well. When I feel like a situation is getting to the point that it's getting out of hand for me in my brain, I start writing it down and looking at it in that way. Also, breaking problems down and like really looking at them, whether it's a big deal or a little deal, right? The same thing I told my son, I told myself, like, is it really worth me losing sleep over this? Is this something that is in my control? Is it something that's out of my control? How can I help myself feel better? How can I break this problem down into smaller steps so that I can accommodate myself and make myself feel better? Yeah, another thing that I do is I try to only participate in things that bring me joy, and I don't dread doing. So I don't force myself to participate in events or activities that I feel like I'm obligated to do it. Unless it's a hell yes, it's a hell no. Because I'm not putting myself in a situation where I'm going to spiral or put myself in a bad headspace just because it's recommended. Okay. When I first started helping myself recuperate from that, not fall from grace. I feel like that's so like dramatic. It's not a fall from grace. That little slip up. I was going to therapy 2 times a week, but now we're down to once a week. And that's working for me. Yeah, and then with respect to the Kundalini yoga, in addition to the vinyasa that I'm already doing, I'm adding the Kundalini on a consistent basis. So I'm always participating in some sort of kriya or meditation. And I feel like I'm going to keep that practice for the rest of my life because I really enjoy it and it really helps me ground myself and think of things in a different way. When I'm in meditation, first of all, I can sit in meditation for a way longer, prolonged amounts of time now. That it's not something that, how it used to be before, that my brain was constantly wandering. I also feel like my support system has been A1, and shout out to them. They know who they are. I always feel like when I'm not feeling my best, I can reach out and they'll be there for me without judgment or without feeling like, oh my God, they're going to think whatever. You know, I can always reach out to them if I'm not feeling 100%, and they can help me ground myself and use my tools to get back to, you know, my status quo. No. Just being back to my normal. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing, and the reasons why I decided to stop. Once I stopped, feel like, not that I'm not judgmental. I don't care if people drink or not, but I do see, I'm able to observe more and be out of my head at events, and I can see things for what they are. I feel like when I used to drink, I used to get alcohol glasses, and certain things looked better than they were in retrospect, because you're not really remembering it how it was. So another thing that I found, when I would drink too much and I would wake up the next day with like a hangover, it was like, besides the anxiety, I would get like this guilt. I'd feel guilty. And I hate that. Like, I already deal with enough stuff. I don't need to purposely do something to add to that feeling, because, you know, growing up Catholic, it's inherent. I've done a lot of work to move away from that, but it's hard, and it's deprogramming and doing away with things and systems that we've grown up with. But I feel like if you put, sorry, I was applying lip gloss, but I feel like if you put an effort and look for assistance, you can do that. So I do want to say that if you're having issues with mental health, or you feel you have a problem with alcohol or any other substance, you can always call 311 here in New York City for assistance. Or if you feel that you or a family member needs help with a mental or substance abuse disorder, you can call a national hotline, which is, okay, so the national hotline is called Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So you can call or text 988 from anywhere in the country, or you can call their 1-800 number, which is 1-800-662-HELP. Or you can text 988. They'll have somebody on the line. You'll text your zip code to actually, no, you don't text 9. It says on the website you can text 988, but also there's another place you can text, which is 435-748, and you can send your zip code to them and press send. And another resource is findtreatment.gov to get help. Guys, remember that you're never alone. It's never as bad as your mind is. Your mind is a liar, right? It's never as bad as you think, and there's always help. And comadres, one thing I want to add is that don't be afraid to ask for help. The person you least expect is willing to help without judgment. A lot of the times that people have an issue reaching out is that they feel shame for their actions or their behaviors, or that they're not, quote unquote, the perfect person. We're all human, and things happen, and we are not, it's not normal to be 100% jolly 24/7. That's not realistic. However, maturity lies in being able to ask for help when you need it, and admitting to yourself that you need the assistance. The person, like I said, the person you least expect is willing to help you and to lend a helping hand. People are here for you. So make sure that you're reaching out and you're asking for help. And if you need me, I am here for you. Like, y'all know how to contact me. I'm here for my comadres, whatever you need. That could be advocacy, it can be advice, it can be support. If you just need somebody to listen, to talk to you. It's real. Us parents of children with special needs go through so much, and it's not recognized. I want to kind of touch lightly, because I feel like I'm going to bring some guests to talk about this mom who went viral on, I don't know if it was TikTok or Instagram. However, she was a mom of a child with special needs, and she was spazzing out because her child drank a pack of like 24 waters. And she's screaming and carrying on the screen and saying that it's not for the weak, that it's in like crazy, and I don't like using that word, but she was just like, getting her frustrations out. I had a lot of thoughts on the video. Number one, people on Twitter and in social media period are so fucking mean. Because the thing is that a lot of these people, I feel, wouldn't say these things to these people if these people were in front of their faces. That's one. Two, her feelings are valid, right? She's allowed to have her feelings. Three, even though her feelings are valid, I feel like delivery is everything. And I get it. In that moment, you're not thinking, right? But it would have served her better to take a moment, and instead of, angry social media fingers and getting on live or recording a video saying all the stuff that she said, sitting down, writing things down, and having a real conversation with people about the struggles, mental health struggles of parents with children with special needs. I feel like her message would have been heard more, and it would have been more clear, instead of her going viral for spazzing out and like doing the most on social media. So yeah, that was like, those are my thoughts on that. Yeah, no, delivery is everything. You can say whatever to somebody. However, the way you deliver the message is going to determine whether or not that person is going to be receptive and listen to you, if they're going to understand what you're saying, or if they're just going to completely disregard you because you're seeming, quote unquote, not irrelevant. What is the word? You're seeming aggressive, or you're seeming just kind of like you're not really making sense because you're going all over the place with the points you're trying to make. Yeah, so I'm going to end the episode how I always do, which is follow me at Comadreando Pod everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to send me a Comadre-Gram via email at Marcy@comadreandopod.com, or slide up into my DMs. Please visit our website, www.comadreandopod.com, to read our latest blog posts, find out about our future events, and get your official Comadre merch. Thank you for spending time with your Comadre. All right, everyone, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Oh, wait. Before I end the episode, I am having an episode featuring Osa, the decluttering consultant that I'm working with. This was another thing in my treatment plan that I made for myself to help my mental match. Like, I was already doing the work, the therapy work, but then, like, I wanted my home to match where my brain was at, and it wasn't matching. So she's helping me get my home to look how it's supposed to look. So shout out to Osa from Oasis Feliz Decluttering Consultants. Yeah, that episode with her is going to be amazing. We're recording it this week. I'm so excited for you to hear it. She's just phenomenal. She's a just amazing person in general, and I'm so happy that I have found her and that she is the way she is, and that she's so supportive and is willing to help people of color get their oasis that they deserve. So with that, I really am ending the episode this time. Everybody take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. Bye.